Kia ora everybody. My name is Kyra. If you've not already met me, hopefully you have. We're going to start off with a really nice hook for a session. On your table, you have got lovely sheets of this resource I created called the Classroom Quest. And you need to, at the table, you are going to try and be the first one to fill it all out. I'm going to give you 1 minute. You can get up, you can get moving, try and fill it out. Off you go.
Hold on, can we ask?
Yes, same name twice. Same name twice is okay. Around the room. Yeah, but your table's gonna win.
Only Kyra. And then we move to another table, right?
Yes. 1 minute! Oh, that's right. You can you can have one name more than once though, so you can put a name in there twice.
Do you believe in animals?
Yeah, no, so you guys are trying.
Can I put my name down?
I've done mine twice.
It doesn't matter, Lauren. Liking dancing is better than being good at dancing. Exactly. And tahi, rua, toru on your kumus, eyes this way. Lovely. Awesome. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Graham. Love it. Thank you, Brooke. Oh,
Do you know what's wrong? The amount of people at the table.
yeah. This is true.
No, it's not wrong, just different. Definitely.
Okay, so that is the first part of the hook that the school's need was what gives us our identity and substances. Can't you hear me? Do I talk louder? Can you hear me? Okay, cool. So this school was a Catholic school, always asked for substances second, and their first one that they wanted was identity, and I thought how perfect, just like fitting from yesterday's session regarding addiction, and how we had a kōrero about self-esteem being a huge thing. I was like, perfect. Identity's perfect. Get the kids learning about themselves and what makes them them. So, from the sheet, are there any patterns you can spot with the colours? What do you think you could tell from what the colours are saying? Are there any patterns that we can spot? Oh, they might. Yeah.
Future thinking.
What else can we spot?
Future thinking and some
Oh, we're spotting some things. Like juice spot.
Families and homes.
Oh, what colour was that one? Fantastic. So whānau is blue. What else have we spotted?
Physical.
Oh, sorry, I can't tell where the ideas are coming from. Please see it. Personality. What kind of things do you think we're adding in that colour? Red. Ah. Cool. Okay. Awesome. What other patterns can we spot? They aren't actually te whare te whawha.
But they will fit
But
in.
they will fit in. Absolutely. So yes, you might have spotted it. Green is interests, hobbies. Purple is values, beliefs. Red is streets. Orange is goals. Blue is whānau. And I kind of get that to start off before actually saying this is what identity is, because then the kids can kind of see, oh yeah, that's what makes this, that. And then they can kind of, I guess, define those aspects of identity first. Prior to what Justin probably doesn't believe about me, I'm actually Team AI. And I helped create this resource with my bestie, ChatGPT. So my goal, hold on, let me go back to my notes. So my goal was to to guide the kids thinking about their identity rather than telling them, because often I was finding myself being like, this is identity, what does that mean to you? So getting them thinking about people in their class first. There's also another resource that it's not here because I didn't want to do printing, but it's a resource that some of you might have seen it. It's cross-sectioned into 4 parts. On the other side is whānau, and then on each of the corners is one of those things. So values and beliefs, hobbies, interests, strengths, Goals, yes.
It's on the Educator Resource Library as of Friday.
Perfect. And then I like to unpack that with each, so there's also the, I guess, the subheadings and titles, which ChatGPT created for me. Again, really good, useful tool. But then I get the class to sit down and they have 2 minutes thinking time for each section. And that first 2 minutes at least, or however long you want, is independent, because often they can be, I guess, influenced by their friends when you talk about what are things, what are your values? Friends will be like, oh yeah, you're like fashionable. But I like them to kind of think for themselves first. We get 2 minutes on every side, but I get them to start with whānau and like really extend it to the concept of whānau being not just home, like your friends, your community, your sports coaches and stuff like that. So then we unpack all of those 4 things. In the end we go, whoa, so what is this? Like, what does all of this mean? And some of them will say, this is like your personality, or this is who you are. And then you can further unpack the concept of identity. Also in the learning notes that are on CRM or wherever Michelle's got them, are also ChatGPT formulated questions of how you can see. Just want a discussion, Justin.
Get over it already, Kyra.
I know, it's just a bit hurt. But I guess to prompt, the really cool thing was I did this with Year 7 and 8s was that they naturally had those authentic conversations, and these ones are really good, and you can unpack them a little bit more, I guess, depending on what the school wants. So obviously the school wanted substances. So under decision making, there was the questions, how does understanding yourself help you make better choices? And then you can unpack peer pressure and what it means to hold your values and things like that. How much time do you have?
You have 3 minutes.
Perfect. Okay. So then once we've unpacked that all together, have those conversations, my favourite thing to do is then it links back to my other lesson that I created about reflections with your reflection, and how I have my mirror in the classroom and get the kids to like do positive self-talk. So then I get them to have a look at their values one, because I think that's really important for identity at least. And they have to circle their like best values. So are you like a good listener, or are you really kind or something? And then they have to, I get them to do this really cheesy thing, but we all have to line up and I put the car music on, and they have to have a reflection with their reflection, and they have to practice that self-talk, positive self-talk. Because we called it all about how, like, your brain is that confirmation bias, and if you can't be best friends with yourself kind of thing. And then I get them to challenge themselves outside of the classroom. Wherever you see a reflection, you say the same thing again. So I think that's just a nice, simple way to, I don't know, if we keep talking about all the issues in the world, like self-esteem, identity, it's a really nice crux to bring it all in. If you see a reflection in the pond or in the mirror when you're brushing your teeth, you can just keep that kōrero going. But yeah, you can use this however you like. And any questions, ask me or ChatGPT. Thank you, that's all. Get it, Kyra.
It's a bit different speaking to a room of adults rather than children, but I'll give it my best. Kia ora everyone, my name's Brooke. Hi, I know many of you, and if you don't know, I'm the new educator for the Hutt Valley region. So I'm here to talk a little bit about the sensory sessions that my trust offer to the schools we visit. I know that this is something that other trusts may be doing, or other educators may be doing as well, but how this came about was through conversations when I was training with the ex-Wairarapa educator, Laura. I didn't get to see a session, but it had come up in conversation. I was also contacted by the Kimiora-based schools in the Hutt Valley, and they are schools that obviously cater to students with a much more high level of needs. So a lot of wheelchair-based students who are non-verbal, who do not have much motor skills or motor capacities at all. And they were looking for an experience to bring to their learners that was in the safety of their own school. So that's kind of how our initiative began. And the main goal was to make learning in the mobile classroom more accessible and engaging for all students. So we started by recognising the unique needs of students on the autism spectrum, and through observations, from my previous history, I've always had students in my classroom who are on the autism spectrum, when I was in a classroom in a school base, and it was something that I was really passionate about, is providing opportunities and experiences for these learners that they may not always be able to participate in for various different reasons. So we talked to teachers, and when I was in my planning meetings, asking them what we could do to make it more accessible. And they identified that often these students struggle with our traditional learning methods, and they of course greatly benefit from sensory play, which helps to stimulate their brains. There's studies to show it increases attention span and also improves communication skills. So their teachers were wanting students to be included in the traditional sessions, but they were worried about their reactions or their engagement, being in a different environment and how they would cope with that. So what we did to address these needs is I did a little bit of research into sensory integration techniques. I also spoke to other educators around the country who gave me some great tips. And so we looked at what sensory play was available and how we could integrate this with the technology within the classrooms. And I worked with other classroom teachers to understand the needs of their specific learners, and their preferences, of course, because as we know, some students, auditory may not be their thing, it might be too overwhelming for them, but they are really into tactile sensory play. So we looked at what needs were there for the students. So our sensory sessions are engaged to designed to fully engage the 5 senses, but of course it's dependent on each learner. I also ensure that our planning is, I'm saying the word loose, because we want to make sure that if a child is enjoying something and it's going really well, we want the freedom to be able to encourage them to keep doing that. So while I'll create a run sheet and have a whole bunch of different activities, if something was working well, I would check in with support staff or the teachers or whoever with the students, and I'd say, are you comfortable to keep going? And they're always like, yes, this is great. The students are loving it. We'll keep doing what we're doing. So by fully engaging 5 senses, of course we use things like visual stimuli with the coloured lights and the stars, also the auditory stimuli through calming music. I bought a whole array of sensory toys, Timu, by the way.
Right for that.
There's so many different educational toys on there. And the goal essentially was to create a fun, engaging and inclusive learning environment that created a positive association with the mobile classroom, because it can be very daunting to enter a new environment for these students. Of course, one of the unique aspects, I suppose, of our program is the mobile classroom, and it allows us to bring these sessions directly into the school, which is a safe environment for these students. Often from talking to teachers and different support staff, leaving the school environment can be very daunting. So by being able to bring something different into their familiar environment, it was an opportunity for these students to have a new experience, essentially. We, of course, have to try and customise the experience for each learner, and I try and cap these sensory sessions at six students per session, so it's not overwhelming with too many people in the mobile classroom. Of course, I would collaborate with the teachers to plan sessions that are relevant and effective, and ensuring that it was personalised. We've had some really good feedback from schools. It's been overwhelmingly positive. Teachers have noticed significant improvements in the students' behaviour and engagement while visiting the mobile classroom in their normal classroom sessions. So we try and do the sensory sessions at the beginning of our visit, so that when the time comes for these students to come to their normal classroom session, that they're familiar with the environment, they're comfortable with it, and they've had a positive association with visiting the mobile classroom. Teachers were genuinely surprised at how much longer these students stayed in the mobile classroom for their normal full classroom sessions. A lot of them would say to me, oh, I don't even think they'll want to come in. I don't think I will be able to get them in, or they might only stay for 5 minutes. A lot of the time, again, dependent on each learner, but I would say majority are staying for their full classroom session once they've had their sensory session. They're finding the environment more comfortable, more familiar, and they're more willing to come in and stay in that session. And of course we know even if students are non-verbal, they've got different needs, that they are taking something in when they're in those sessions. Engaging in sensory activities also helps to create new neural pathways in the brain, and it's benefiting all students, of course, but particularly those on the autism spectrum. So, in conclusion, addressing students...
ChatGPT.
No, we had to, of course, edit certain things, but great tool. Right? So addressing students' needs is, of course, at the heart of what we do as an organisation. And so I guess by creating that inclusive and engaging environment, we're making a positive impact on students' educational experiences. So yes, thank you so much. Sorry if I powered through. Oh, I've got a question. Yes.
I wanted to ask, because a lot of us have probably got the little neurodiverse kits and teachers might access them and stuff for their students. Has anyone else found what I experience, which is I have to have all of the neurodiverse toys that need to be quiet for kids, because if they have even a slight click, what I'm trying to teach, that distracts me like hell.
Yeah. I mean, it's totally dependent on each individual. I'm pretty good at blocking it out. Then again, that's just me personally, from having taught so many students on the autism spectrum and having all these tools and things, and having students who make noises and call out and all the time, especially when I had two of them in there, I very much learned to block it out. But again, it's dependent on you and what works for you. So, like I said, I'm pretty good at kind of zoning it out, but everybody's different. So,
do you make a complete other session for these kids? So does it count as part of the timetable? Like, is it an additional class? It
is an additional class. It's half an hour. Timetable. So
and two or what?
It depends on the amount of learners that they have. Some schools will have, depending on the size of the school, some schools will have bigger sessions. I try to find out the number of students first, and then I always say to them, this is an opportunity, like it's an option, but it really does also depend on the amount of time that we have in our timetable. I do try and do about 4 sessions a day, and I'm happy to do an extra sensory session in a day because it's half an hour, and for me personally, it's worth it to have these students in. So,
Can I just ask, all your sensory sessions, are they individually planned, and is it linked to the classroom topic?
Not always. So it depends on the capabilities of the learners that are coming in. Mostly it's a time to create a positive association with the mobile classroom so that they're comfortable to come in and join their normal classroom sessions.
It's quite an informal, just getting to the environment.
So I have a rough lesson plan that we do. Often it includes watching a bit like I Like Being Me, so we can focus on individual aspects of ourselves. We all get Harold up in Harold's world, and it's just, for me personally, it's all about creating that positive association so we can get them into the normal classroom sessions that teachers often think they're not even going to make it to. So that's kind of where I base it.
Do you do it so it's a specific age range, or do you just...
It depends on the school again. So it's very much, if they've got quite a high number of these learners, then I may try and base it, say, year 3 down and then year 4 up, or if there's just a small number of them, they all come in together. I've had really positive feedback about when they all come in together. It's so great to see these children interacting with each other, because oftentimes they don't get to, just because they're in different areas of the school. So sometimes having them all in there, the support staff, just, you can see the emotion that we're so happy that these learners are having a positive experience with others who are very similar to themselves.
And adding to that, when the support staff take those photos of those students just living their best life.
I wish I brought a few.
With parents. Parents are so appreciative of that.
Yeah, I got a beautiful email from a parent. I had a young boy who came right up the front, sat on my lap, and was just loving Harold, stroking him, hugging him, and then I got this beautiful email just saying, thank you so much for this opportunity. Like, it's quite heartwarming, so yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, 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 ding. Thank you, I hope that was helpful.
Do you want the question? That's the way. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to teach you about something that I have started using for about the last 18 months. When teaching feelings and emotions, and we call it feathers and rocks. So the idea behind it was, as it says up here, schools are always asking how do we manage our big emotions year after year, but they wanted new content. They didn't necessarily want to do the zones of regulation, or they didn't want to do these other things. I also had schools commenting that zones were a struggle for some of these students. They were struggling with in particular blue zone and yellow zone and articulating and finding where things were. So also they want to keep it positive. So that's kind of my why of where feathers and rocks came from. My how was I started exploring different ways we could look at feelings and emotions that would encourage us to think of them in a different way. So I wanted to explore the concept that they have weight versus being good or bad, that we carry our feelings with us everywhere. And I say, like buckets, if we've done bucket filling and bucket dipping, we carry them in an invisible bag. No one can see it, but we can feel it. We feel our happiness, we feel our sadness, and each feeling has a different kind of weight. Some feelings are really hard and heavy and uncomfortable, and other feelings are really light and bright, and we don't notice it necessarily in our bag. And the concept was that we can't just leave them behind at the door. So when you are sad because, say, a puppy has died or something has died, you don't just come to school and leave that sadness behind. That sadness is with you. It's with you at school, at home, in the shower, while you're learning, while you're trying to sleep. So that was the concept, sort of where it came from. So this is just my explanation of a rock. The hard, the heavy, they can keep us up at night. They can wake us when we're sleeping. They can stop us from doing the things we enjoy and make it hard for us to do our learning and even to be a good friend. And if we link back to what Kim was saying this morning about when you wake at night, if you're having a conversation, you automatically start thinking about those things.
Ruminating.
Yeah, ruminating. I have a physical bag of rocks that the children wear, and when I have a student wear the bag, I ask them to lie down on the floor. And they lie down and they're like, oh, no. And then they roll over and I'm like, hey, cool, how's that going? I'm like, oh, cool. So can you find a comfortable position? And eventually they will find one where it's comfortable-ish. And I said, well, could you fall asleep like this? And they're like, well, yeah, probably. I said, yeah, because nature will take over and eventually we will fall asleep. I said, but have you ever rolled over in the night and woken up and started thinking about that thing that happened at school, or started thinking about what was going on in your world or whatever? And they're like, yeah. I said, that's that rock digging into your back because you rolled over and it's getting in there between those ribs. And they're like, yeah, you know, they can feel the analogy and they can physically see it because I'm going mad. Versus feathers, they're light and bright, have almost no way to do it. They're soft and they're warm. We have a spring in our step, we feel a lightness about us. It's easier for us to learn to sleep, to focus on the things that we need, and to be kind to others, and to be a good friend. So this is helping us link it into various aspects of our teaching, being a good friend, resilience, kindness, that kind of stuff. Yeah, probably said that statement 20 times already, so you can just read that one. Just an example of how I have used them. So Rabbit at the park, when Rabbit's sitting on the seesaw, we can see her hunched, and we can talk about what's going on in her world. She might have a rock in her bag because she didn't get what she wanted. And then we can talk about how Harold can help, how we can help. Billy starting school, I love using Billy with this. He is just the perfect one.
He was like this.
Yeah, and we talk about at the start, so we talk about feelings and emotions first. We talk about heavy and light, and we get the children to a card sort, and we just say to them, would this feeling for you be heavy in your bag or light? And 5-year-olds to year 8s get it, like instantly, and Rachel said use it, and Michelle, and they pick up the concept really fast. So they've done the sort, and then we watched the first Billy video, and I said, can I have an helper, please? Someone comes up to me, my helper, and I bring out my tiny little backpack that I've got, and they put the backpack on. And then we say to the children, okay, so what feelings is Billy experiencing at the moment? And the child goes up and chooses a feeling off the wall, and they can pick whatever side. If they pick a feather, they put a feather in Billy's bag. If they pick a rock, they put a rock in Billy's bag. and they start to see Billy's bag get heavier and heavier. And we do this throughout the video. And then at the end of the video, of course, he meets Sam. And Sam starts to take the rocks out. And we can introduce that with empathy, kindness, so many avenues that can be used for so many questions.
I was just going to say, it's like with the empathy, you can tell that Sam's had a bag full of rocks before.
Yes.
Whereas the other kids haven't, maybe haven't. Yeah.
Yes, and even saying things, what was that thing that Sam said? It must be really hard saying.
Yeah.
And so they can go through all those concepts, and you can see the little light bulbs going off in their head. And then I like to put the last one on, and when Robert says, "We're going to have to leave them already," and you can see the class go, "No!"
Yes.
We have to stop the video, and we have to put a rock. And Billy's thinking, "Oh, kids looking at me like." And do it like that. I love using with Grace and fair play with year 8s. When Grace storms off and we talk about why she did this and, did she deserve this, and we talk about above and below the line, and then I say, okay, let's unpack this. How is Grace feeling in this moment? Again, same activity, pick a word, put the appropriate resource into the bag. All of a sudden, Grace's bag is really heavy, and we say to the student around the bag, do you want to play with your friends if you were feeling like that? And they're like, no. I said, okay, so she stormed off. And then we can go through how we can manage our feelings, the I can cards, the we can cards. There's a whole bunch of resources that go with that. And we can start to take the rocks out of Grace's bag as well. I did this over 2 sessions with the year 8 class. And at the end of the first session, the young girl wearing the bag was full of rocks. She left. She came back the next day and she was walking the door, and I was standing at the door with the bag of rocks ready for her to put back on again because we hadn't finished our learning. She may have said a couple of swear words as I gave her the bag, and the students all looked at me in the classroom and I went, I'm not going to ground at her because I'm sorry, that was an appropriate response to the situation. And this girl was a bright, bubbly, happy child who sat there with a face like screwed up because she had this bag on her back. And then again we proceeded to take the rocks out. No negativity around the feelings at all, just at its weight. It's just heavy. It's hard to carry your sadness. It's hard to carry your embarrassment. And things like that. So, couple of things I've used with it: walking your shoes, weekend cards, flipping your lid fits with that beautifully, all the amygdala chat, sympathetic, parasympathetic brain, and just a couple of pictures of the kids wearing the bags. So I had them in little kitties and had them out so they've got actual rocks or actual feathers, and the children get to sit there and they want to participate. They want to feel part of this.
You can see that little bottom one's a beauty picture.
Yeah. That hilarious story. She is the principal's daughter. And that child, when I come to school, if I'm there for 2 days, the next day she turns up wearing exactly what I wore the day before. And she is, Big Harold came to her school one day, and this little girl, her 2 favourite things in life are food and Harold. And Big Harold walked out as she was taking a bite of a big burrito, and she literally did not know what to do. And there's this photo of her like quivering and shaking. She's the most happy, beautiful child. But that's the enthusiasm, and the whole class were like that. And that was a year 3 to 6 class, that one.
Yeah.
The top class was the 7/8.
Is that the sword up there on the...
Yes, that's the sword up the wall. So my feelings, actually you weren't here when I implemented that, was the clouds. And it fits beautifully with the clouds, which is a Susan David idea that feelings are like clouds. They're not permanent, they can pass you by. But when you choose to hold the feeling, that's when the feeling has weight. So there are a series of questions that go with those. What is causing this feeling? What do I need to do for this feeling? Do I need to make this feeling go away? They have been shared as well. But they fit beautifully with this as well. So there's that whole conversation of, we can let sadness go, we don't have to put it in a bag, but a lot of the time it will sit with us and we will hold it. So that's kind of how I use feathers and rocks. I have also made a follow-up worksheet for teachers.
Of course you have.
So, made this, and I got asked by a school, have you got anything to follow follow up with. And I went, no. So I went home that night and made stuff. So just the children get to pick how they're feeling today and either write it on a feather or a rock. Cut it out and put it into their backpack. And then we've got 3 I can cards at the back. So almost junior, middle, senior. So senior, junior. And I have them as a PDF printed out the back of the classroom and on file so I can share them with schools when they want to.
Everyone has shared with me and I've passed on to teachers, and the feedback about these follow-up activities is so positive. So helpful for the class. So
yeah, and it's the little conversations like a wee boy said to me on Friday, we were doing this, and he said, I had a rock this morning because ... and they start using the language really, really quickly. And I just love that it's not negative because, as I say to the children, all feelings have a purpose. They are just our brain trying to figure stuff out, and we should never look at them as a negative. You know, it's okay to be angry. It's not okay to hit someone. But you're allowed to feel angry if someone breaks your sandcastle or if somebody hurts you. We're allowed to feel that feeling. What we do with it next is what's important. Ingrid?
I'll just share your feedback that I just did that at my big intermediate, and it was their favourite lesson out of all 4 listeners. And the follow-up activity was the favourite teacher follow-up activity as well. So they said it just had so much impact on me and where they're at that moment.
I have also got a PowerPoint that Michelle has got that I did this for a teacher PD in the last school holidays. So I made a PowerPoint that is way more pip feeling, so if you look at it, you'll know I made it.
Yeah.
And it just goes through understanding our emotions and a brief explanation of this. I am happy for any of you to have it and to share it with anyone that you choose. So Michelle has got that as well.
And they will go where?
On the
Educator Resource Library.
Yeah, so they're all there. If you've got any questions, please just email me and ask me. But I always go back to what Nikki told me years ago when he taught me about the values line. Once you start playing with it, you make it your own.
Correct.
And the more ownership you have of it, the easier it becomes to use. And you literally see the light bulbs going off. So.
Can I just say on the West Coast, because we use the clouds a lot,
yeah,
and the kids will often be like, "Well, we've got clouds all the time," and I'm like, "Yeah, but because of that, what does the West Coast look like? Like, what does
it's
we know it's lush and it's great, and it's like, yeah, because the clouds, that rain, it helps us to grow, and the same with those feelings. We grow; they help us grow because we learn how to manage them, or you know, and yeah, blah blah blah. But yes, okay, yeah, such a good reason.
Sorry, but when you say you use physical rocks,
Literal
size?
So the biggest rock, well, river stones.
Yeah.
The biggest rock is the size of my palm, and the smallest one would be about the size of an egg. And there's various sizes, and the kids love getting into the bag, and they're like, "Am I going to get a big one or a little one?" And sometimes you can see them dig, and there's one, and you pull it out, and the kid goes, "Oh, that was a good one," or they take a little, it's like, and the kids go, "Get a big one, or get a little one." Like it's so various sizes because we not all feelings go the same way. So yeah, just river stones.
I was just thinking size-wise, I was thinking bigger.
Yeah, no, I would go hand size.
I ain't gonna have no feelings with that people.
Thank you.
Kia ora koutou. Ko me and o, ko Taranaki, toku rohe. E tū. E no'o. E tū. E no'o. E tū. Rudy, awesome. E no'o. E tū. Uri uri. E no'o. E tū. Uri uri the other way.
Don't know what it is where you're going to
Kani kani. Woohoo. E no'o. Rudy, I think you're still the man. Aki roto. Aki wa'o. Ka pai. Aki roto. Aki wa'o. Aki roto. Aki wa'o. I did that for my benefit just as much as yours. That's a energizer that I use in the classroom. And once you learn a few more kupu words, you can throw in whatever suits you. So I might say, let's stretch like a kakiroa. And kakiroa, what do you think? And if they haven't already worked it out, and I'll say kakiroa, giraffe, kani like a maki, dance like a monkey, ooh. Rere, fly like a ruru. So, you just throw in what you can and use them as energizers. And so if you haven't already guessed, I'm telling you a little bit about my work I'm doing with Te Ao Māori. I'm aware that Life Ed want us to have a tikanga approach, and I love that. The tikanga approach of, not stepping over bodies and, you might say karakia, whatever suits you, your school, your lessons. My approach has always been to try and include a little bit more reo each year when I'm at schools, and it depends on the class, it depends on the school. So over the last 6 months, I've been doing a course called Atarawea, and it's a local course. So it's run in Taranaki, Manawatu, might be other areas too. But several schools in Taranaki are doing this particular course, and there's different levels. And so within our region, we've got teachers who are at different levels. And so it's my aim to work with the schools and say, hey, what Atarawea experience have your staff got, and how would you like me to then reinforce it in my Life Ed lessons? And even within that same school, you might have one teacher who is really putting it into action and another teacher who's not. And so then I tend to just read the room as I go, and just use the real basics, like, kia ora koutou, ko Megan tōku ingoa, no mai haere mai ki te akomanga tangara o haro. Welcome everyone to Harold's Mobile Classroom. Ko Megan tōku ingoa, I'm Megan. Morena, kopa, iti, and they'll say morena, Megan, and if they don't, I'll go, like this. So just try and incorporate it as naturally and as positively as I can. Things like, if they're working, I'll say toru, roa, tai, kore, kia tau. And if I feel that they didn't quite understand what I've said or my actions, then I'll explain it and use both languages. And so, lots of schools are saying, it's great how it's just being incorporated naturally. And just building on it each time. The good thing about this course that I'm doing as well is that because those other schools are doing it, they can see that I can reinforce what they're doing. It's another good way to network and build Life Ed's strength and reputation. So it's been positive in that respect too. And it's just something that I keep chipping away at and just try to, for me it's partly because I want to connect with those students. I also use it as a way of helping build the self-esteem of Māori students. Let's lift the sun like Maui, Maui that controlled the sun. Kia ka'a, be strong like Maui, things like that. Lost my train of thought a little bit there. Another reason is that in a way, if we can positively incorporate Te Ao Māori, we're helping to minimise the subconscious racism. I don't know if that's the correct term. Can anyone correct me on that? Subconscious racism?
Systemic racism?
No. Subconscious bias, And just to help really promote that positivity, because unfortunately there are people who are saying, oh, isn't this a bit OTT, or what's the use in learning Māori, and all, so to connect, to also to connect with the local kupu language words. So if Kowai class come to me, I'll say to them, so are you kopa kowai or kopa kowhai? How do you guys say it? Because in Taranaki we often say kowai, but still in Taranaki people say kowhai for the colour yellow, or the tree kowhai. So try to use their kupu. Likewise, if I display their values on the IFED classroom wall, and some schools use one word for respect and another school might use another word. So I'll have that on display and always refer and try and use the Te Reo Māori, so that it's not just something that they've, published, but it's something, I'm helping them to give it some meaning and give it some life. So it's, not just tokenism. So the sheet that's been handed out, that's just a little bit of background about the sorts of things I do in my classroom already and what I'm aiming to do. I certainly don't see myself as an expert ready to, tell everyone, you could do this, this and this. I'm just sort of trying to collect for my own kete at this stage, and just add a little bit as I go, and incorporate it more and more is what I enjoy doing.
I have a question. So when you were doing in the beginning, I noticed that it's aki, not haki. Is that your from your area now? Is that or always been? Because I remember you
with
roto. You're not saying the ha, so no or and haki. You're going aki. And
that's it. We drop the H's. And see, even within Taranaki, not everyone's been taught like that because they're from other areas or whatever the reason. So even in Taranaki, some people do use the H.
There's a little bit of a split because there's, you've got your northern tribes, you've got your southern tribes. I know. Who that feed into.
It's not just Taranaki, there's other regions too that drop the H.
I was just wondering where we get down on there. It'll be interesting to see.
For example, we've got a school named Whenua-Kura, spelt Whenua-Kura, and I said to them, how do you like to say the name of your school? And they said to me, it depends how you talk. Some people say Whenua-Kura, some people say Whenua-Kura, some people say Whenua-Kura. So it's what I'm trying to do is to have the conversations, rather than and like I say Manukari'i, and then one of the students from that school just very quietly came to me and said, we actually say Manukari'i, miss.
And what about your resources? Do you, is it the double vowel or the macron? Do you does that change in your area? Because we're double vowel.
So I try and check with a local and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking of using. Is this correct?
You have to,
Cool. Kia ora.